Erev Pesach Tovshin Pei B'siyata D'Shmaya. When we try to prepare for the Seder, every year a person comes with new understanding, with the experience of the past year. And with that, they try to be Mekayim the mitzvahs, with the new Havana of the experiences of what a person went through. The main mitzvah of the Seder Nacht, the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, to say the story again. And many times people find it kind of boring and missing a drop of chiyas when they get older. To say Paroi and the Mitzvah and the Makkos. Okay, we been there, done that. And maybe if you have a nickel, you can listen to the Manishtana. If it gets interesting, it gets colorful when there's new people around. But the etzem horse from the story, the essence of the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim, is sometimes missing some chiyas. The Maral in Perek Mem Daled in Gvuras Hashem explains that the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim is really a review of the Yesodus of Yiddishkeit. That's what we're trying to do. The Tzanzerov, Zechron Levrocha, would start the Agoda by saying, first let's start from the beginning. The Rebbeinu Shalom created the world. It means he really started from the beginning. But even if we don't add text, we have to understand the broader picture and putting things into context. What are we trying to say with the Sipur Yetzias Mitzrayim? And the answer is that being that the Leil of Pesach, the night of Pesach, Yiddish kinder were chosen. That's when the change happened to them. The Eibishter elevated them to be able to be Emes Ha'Ibdi Hashem. So that's the night for every Yid that we could start again. It's like a restart of understanding the Tachlis of the Bria of the world, and a person to get a better understanding, what's my Tachlis, what am I trying to do here? And that is that if we analyze the Yesodis that we could take out of the story, like the moral of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. So what's your takeaway from the Maaseh? So there's many ways you could summarize it. You could try to summarize it by date. Many times people do that, and that's when they're missing the point. That means, so first Yaakov Avinu was told, and then his Shvatim went into Mitzrayim, and then he took them, they were working very hard, and then Hashem took them out. That's a sikum that's telling you the story. A real summary is when a person tries to make the sikum based on the Yesodis, and he changes around the order a little bit. I'll explain. Let's say a person is learning Hilchas Brochas. The Brocha Hagofen Hamoitzi, simple, Hadoma. So if you learn the Mishnah in case of Mavorchem, the Mishnah Masechtas Brochas. If you eat Mazonis, if you eat cake, you should make a Mazonis. If a person is summarizing, then they would start and they would say, Hashem created the world, and we are supposed to thank Him before we enjoy, before we take something into our mouth. And then we would say there's a bracha that's more general, that's called Shahakal Niyah B'Dvoroi. That Shahakal, everything, Hakal, was created B'Dvoroi, with the Rebbeinu Shalom, with the Rebbeinu Shalom's words, Kavayachal. And then we would say, and then there is specific Chosheva Ma'acholim, I would say that something that we want to specify, we want to try to indicate the Hatova from the Rebbeinu Shalom, the goodness of the Rebbeinu Shalom, so we go down to detail when we make the bracha. So we don't say everything. We say, thank you Hashem for creating bread. Hamoti lechem in oretz. So you're summarizing it lefi the beginning of the concept, not the way it was brought down in the Mishnah. That shows that your takeaway is Yesodiyizdik. It's more fundamental. You're getting the source. Like, what are we trying to say here? story of CPT's Mitzrayim, it starts with that they went into Mitzrayim. It's so sad. Oh, and then Baruch Hashem took them out of Mitzrayim. But if we want to summarize it, we could start with Hashem created the world. Because by the Makkos, we're starting from there. Takeaway number one. The Rebbeinu Shem runs the world, Hashgacha Pratis, every detail, from the beginning until today's day, every second, everything is orchestrated from above. That's Yesod number one. And a person is supposed to be marble. Kol marble is sapabitiyas mitzayim reizim meshubach. Marble doesn't necessarily mean in quantity. It means try to internalize, try to add your story to it. That means when we're up to Yesod number one, that Hashem runs the world in every detail. I mean, including, and then there's the not pleasant, that you don't want to say barabim. Including what I'm going through right now. It's not easy. And I have to be constantly. That as well. That's called being marvelous sape b'yitzias Mitzrayim. Abisha chose me as a Yid to be able to connect to him. Being a Yid means the ability to connect to the Rebbeinu Shlem. Hashem with you should be mamash one. And that is done by understanding the Yesodis of Torah, done by a person being humble, a person remembering of the Rebbeinu Shlem. Shema Yisrael Hashem Elkeinu Hashem Echad V'Ahavta. If you Mekayim V'Ahavta, then you could live with the Yesodis of Emunah. So this first Yesod of Emunah, we're starting again. Now, of course, every year a person has a whole different meaning to it. The pain is in a different place. Even if it's the same run-on sentence from last year, it's still the pain is in a different place, for sure. That's our life. So that's number one. The Eibishter created. Then, Zog the Tver Shloime, a shtickle Tver Shloime from the Rebbe of Radomsk. He says that we're supposed to be. There's a big dogish, there's a big emphasis on thanking the Rebbeinu Shlem by the Seder Nacht. This is Hallel, this is Nishmas, this is Hoidu. The Fikach Nachn Chayavam Hoidu is constantly. Why? Because we realize that the Rebbeinu Shlem is constantly doing what's good, what's best for our neshama. So that is the second Yesod. The second Yesod is the Eibishter created the world and runs everything, and everything is Latoiv. And later on, people could look back and see, wow, that was such a mess. I thought it was the worst thing that happened. It was the best thing that happened. And when we do that, and we try to, again, put our matzav into the picture, then the Torah Shloime brings there that it also brings chasadim, because when you talk about the chasadim from the Rebbeinu Shlem, it brings chesed. When you say gamzol toiva, when you are positive about life, it's ba'oyer. It awakens a midah that the Rebbeinu Shlem should do that with us. But then let's remember that these two Yesoides, that Eibishter runs the world and it's Latov, that brings a person to trust. That's bitachon. So here again, you're sitting at night by the Yesoid of Klal Yisrael and you're putting in Amunah, verbalizing it, putting in bitachon. And then we have the big Yesod of Galus and Geula. That's like the main Yesod. This is like preparing Hagdama. But the main chapter of the Yesodis of Haggadah Shel Pesach is understanding one of the biggest Yesodis of this Bria, how this world works. Hashem takes a person, and theoretically, not only people, it's even with the trees. The whole world has a matzav that's called Galus, and then all of a sudden comes the Chelek HaGeula. If you're talking about trees and you see the winter and the summer, when there's nothing there and it's cold and it's empty and it looks like it's dead. And then you wait with a little bit of savlonis, and Baruch Hashem, Chodesh Nisan, things start to look so nice. And then there's a flower, and then there's a peri, and then you could eat the fruit. It's a system. There's Heroin and there's Leida, there's pregnancy and birth. which is also, there's a lot of pain, there's a lot of waiting, but then Baruch Hashem, then there's a new life comes to the world. The same is with every person, with every matzav that they go through. Hashem created a world full of matzavim of Galus. Galus means exile, Zakman. Galus means that a person didn't find his place yet. It's not. What does Galus mean? A person's not at home. Or I didn't find a home. I'm still searching. Trying this, trying that. I'm not comfortable with myself. Or I'm not comfortable with the matzav that they should put me in. Not being comfortable with the matzav that they should put you in is the beginning of every story. There's no way around that. That's the first chapter of the book, any book. Hashem puts you into a matzav and it hurts. It hurts very badly because I didn't want that. I don't know how to handle it. I feel that there's no way I could continue doing this because it's against everything that I was hoping for. And all kinds of, you're not comfortable with the matzav means you didn't find a way how to live. The person is struggling with a messed up relationship. Any kind of matzav. The person is in a job that is so uncomfortable because the balabas is being so nasty. It's a galus, it's a emes a galus, but we have to remember, after knowing the Eibush put into this matzav, that's when you find out that now it's latoiv. Now I have to figure out. Okay, so the beginning of it. So how could it be that I don't feel that it's latoiv? How could it be that it's so messy? The answer is that we're in the stage of Galus. If a woman would come to the doctor and say that she doesn't know what's going on, she's before giving birth, but there's contractions and a the doctor would say, I think you're going into labor. That's the pshat. The pshat is that it's a siman, that it's chapter 1. And then comes the next chapter, the next, you say, that's Galus was before Geula. So the Rebbeinu Shalom teaches us that through telling us to say that God is Pesach. But then the end is Torah. Then was Geula, then was Dveikus, Mat, everything.
That's the beginning of birth. First, the birth itself is dam.
The birth of Am Yisrael is dam. Every time birth is dam, but that is the beginning of life. But in order to be successful and being able to bring Galus to turn into a matzav of Geula, it's very, very important for a person to know which tools do I use to be able to turn my Galus, my personal Schwerigkeit into Geula. And the number one tool is Achno. It means accepting, understand that it makes sense. I don't deserve better. I'm fine. Let me try to do what's right. Not to fight the matzav. That's like the number one rule. So let's get to that. So I saw a very interesting word from Rabbi Ron Leil. He was a grandson of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. And he says like this in the Sefer Shevet Mi Yehuda Parshas Boy. The pasuk says that I want you to study, you should learn it, you should be misaper the whole story. And it says that the Eibusha was machbid as liboy. Usually we learn, and that's the simple pshat, that he should say no, so Hashem could bring more makas. He should say no. Machbid as liboy means that Hashem put in a feeling of gaiva by Paroi. Ich barati meloshen kovoid, not heavy, meloshen to be machabit. So he says, whenever a person is in that situation, every clap that you get hurts more. And he says again, as Eshesalalti b'Mitzrayim means, I put them up Maila. They should feel like they're the greatest people, and they deserve, God's gift to humanity. And then every means that not more kamus of makas, just the makas should hurt. Because when a person is humble, they could accept it. Okay, I could handle it. As we touch it, this is a fascinating shot because, in a certain sense, it explains us the difference between living a Yiddish life and a Paroi Mitzrimdige life. The Yidden were having, it's a little bit of schwer sprach to use, but the Yidden were getting more markers in the Mitzrim in a certain sense. The fact that they're in Mitzrayim, the fact that they're working so hard, the fact that they're taking little children and putting them into the wall, everything. And here Paroi gets his patch. Dom Tzvardeya. Now look how Yidden reacted, and look how they reacted. Paroi reacted by saying, okay, I'm not going to send them out. I could also do it. I know how to do it. He sends the Kishif Machas. That's called Gaiva. So it hurt more, and look what ended up happening. Totally lost. The Yidden, like you said, what they did was, they davened. They believed everything is from above. And they were just going to help. And it brought out, it forced a deep connection with the Rebbeinu Shalom. I can't do it on my own. It's so hard. And the Sforim explained that they were more pained about the Richuk from Hashem than the physical work that they were doing. Elokim means Ruchni is the challenges that they had. Any person that's going to take that route will end up in Matan Torah, Shabbos, and Beis Hamikdash. If you take that route of davening and believing and being b'simcha and pushing in a sense of pushing means pushing yourself to be b'simcha. That's what I mean. It's a good. It's of course easier said than done. But the Haggadah Shel Pesach is putting it out there. That here you see what happened to the Yidden, and here you see what happened to Paroi. The Briskerov Zogt, that it says in the Pasuk that Paroi refused to listen, and he didn't want to send out the Yidden. He says it's two separate things. Not only he didn't send out the Yidden from Mitzrayim, that's one issue. Second issue is, Hashem is talking to you and you're refusing, and you're saying, the shrugging your shoulders part, forget about what was the result. He says that, you get markers for that. Because it says in the Toichacha, in Parashat V'chukoisai, that if you look at things that are happening and you're not trying to do what you're supposed to, you're trying to understand, then you're going to be totally lost. The Eibush is going to be more markers. And this is what happened to Paroi. It's exactly what happened. When we understand that the Eibush took us into Mitzrayim, the Eibush told Avraham Avinu, I'm going to take Yidden, and I give them a little taste of Galus. But I'm explaining it to you why. Because I'm going to be there with them. I'm not going to let them fall in Galus. No. I'm going to be there like in a NICU, like in an ICU. I'm going to be there over the patient. And I'm going to make sure that it's just going to be there in a way that they should grow, that they should become closer to me. And that's what happened. And then what happened was that they got more parts of their neshama revealed through going through this matziv. Every situation of Galus has a fascinating koyach to take out of the person, the squeeze out of, he should feel their neshama, and that's their geula. The Sfasem is a Galus and Maloshan Gilui. The koyach of Galus is to take out of a person what he doesn't know that it exists. Fascinating piece of information, article that just now was exposed, and that there was one of the hostages that was kept in Gaza, and he had never known what Yiddishkeit is all about, but nothing. Zero. He just knew that he's a Yid, not more than that. And he was taken by surprise, and he was sitting there down in the dungeons in the dark. And they were making fun of him and torturing him because he's a Jew. And he was like, I wish I would know more what it means to be a Yid, because you're doing it to me because I'm a Yid, I don't even know what it is. This person just now, a few weeks ago, went to a Rav. He's looking for a Rav. He wants to discuss Yiddishkeit. He wants to know much more about it. And he's explaining this Yid, and it's fascinating. It's so important for us to know. This Yid says that if you think I need psychological help now, because I am totally traumatized, it's not the case. I'm telling you, I know what I'm talking about. I was petrified the first few weeks. Right in the beginning, but then, the biggest present that Hashem gave me in those tunnels was I got to think. Because running around, buying, huffing and puffing, running around, I couldn't think. I was able to think, and slowly I connected to the Rebbeinu Shalom, and I felt He's watching over me, and He's with me, and I wasn't frightened, because I knew Hashem is watching me. He said, for over a year, I was in this matzav. I knew I'm under control. Now this story is such a lesson for us. It's not shaykh. That means that a story just happened. The person is alive and explaining to us what just happened to him. This person is explaining to us the yesod that Galus is megala, something that's in you, even if no one ever taught it to you, because it's in you, because it's in the person. Sometimes Rebbes think about a certain Talmud, or parents think about a certain child. I don't know, this person doesn't have a Heilig Neshama. It's like a certain feeling. That other kid that's so tmim is they're gonna shuckling and he has cars that to go this way like that. That he is like, wow, he has a Heilig Neshama. But the other one that's like doing trouble and is so cult-like and doesn't connect, he doesn't have a Heilig Neshama. What does that mean? What does that mean? What are you saying? It doesn't make any sense. If a person tries to think about it, it doesn't make sense what you're saying. There's like different type of neshamas, like the Heilige type of neshamas. And then it's like from the bottom of the barrel, like plain. It doesn't make any sense. What's the problem? That we're experiencing it. We sit by a Shabbos table, and one child is so nice and so calm and so, it's like soothing. And then you have a child that's like, I don't know, disconnected. But that's not the emes. The emes is a very strong levush. But there's a bigger levush. It's also called Godel Mechaver Yitzir Godel Imenu. But the Metzias is that there is something there. This story from the hostage, you know what that means? You're talking about people that never knew anything. That means that there's a neshama in there. The Gemara sagt in Masechtas Sanhedrin and Chelik that when Rebbe Lezer wasn't feeling well, a Tana, his Talmidim came to visit him. Reb Tarfa and Reb Yeshua, and then it says also Reb Akiva, and they all were praising Rebbe Lezer. Rebbe Lezer, you're so gross, or whatever. And Reb Akiva said, Chavivin Yisurim. I'm happy. He was smiling. He was excited. He said, why? The Rebbe is in such pain and you're excited? He says, because Yisurim does something to a person that nothing else could do. And then he says, Rebbe Lezer asked him, he got up on the bed and he said, I want to ask you, Rebbe Akiva, from where did you learn that? He said, from Menashe. Menashe was a Baal Aveda, and nothing worked. His father was the biggest Marbas Torah of generations, Chizkiah. He was Malamed Torah to everybody. It didn't work, nothing on Menashe. Bahadi Kashat Rachman Allah Malach. Perish Gemara. He was Malamed Torah to every single person. Every child knew how to learn and got a geschmack and Torah besides his own child. His own child was a Ovid of the Torah. If people blame themselves, Ayin Shom. This part of the story, the kud of the story is so important to know. And then, when Menashe was in pain, Kahotzer Loi, the Pasuk says, Vaikona Ma'oid. He was nichna, and he came to Hashem. After being the biggest Balaveda, Choyte Umachti, he was like a whole organization footsteps, he was like really, really. And he came back, and he davened, and Hashem helped him. Hashem listened to his tefillas. Shloshim v'shalosh shana, he was about tshuva. And many Svarim say that that's the pshat. When Chizkiah didn't want to get married because he knew with Ruach HaKodesh he's going to have such a child, and the Novi Ted said, "Ba'adi kasha rachman lo malach." So the Svarim explained that the Novi told him, every neshama has a journey. Menashe's journey is to show people that even if you're so far, you could come back and then build a life. And then even if you're so far, they're just going to take you anyways. If a person has the right achano, tshuva always helps. And it's going to happen. And every single neshama, every neshama is going to come back to Haftocha. The Shulchan Aruch Rav explains it. Now the Yesod, back to what we're talking, Yisurim, but let's elaborate. Yisurim doesn't have to mean tragedy. At all not. Yisurim means that there's a situation which forces the person to be nichna. That's it. Because it forces a person to remember that I can't do it on my own. Forces a person to remember that I'm not in control. It makes a person think. The wheels start turning. And when we see a person that's an older person, it means he has seen things in life. I don't know if the person is 55 or 65, and that person is acting childish in a certain way. Let's say he's trying to show off. He's busy whole day showing off. It's very, very sad. That's sad. Not someone that's sad. Why? Because how could it be? How could it be? Because the situations of life take you to that place that a person becomes a nichna. They daven, they need Hashem. They know that they're not worth. They feel they wish they could undo the damage and of the averas that they did, and then they remember the Eibishter wants to do tshuva. You do tshuva, and the Eibishter is going to already undo the damage. The deep understanding that a yid is supposed to have. That's the life brings you to these matzavim. Galus means that. Yisurim mean that it forces a person to think. When a person thinks, this is a very important yisod. When a person uses machshava to do tshuva, maybe a good example for that is building or renovations. Whoever built an apartment, whoever made renovations know that it's agmas nefesh from the beginning to the end. The Arab didn't show up, he did it the wrong way. He worked, but then there's a pipe that just platzed from the other side, and now it's going to cause double. This is the nature of building. Now, does that mean that nobody should build? That's the taich. No, because people need to live. Renovations is a normal zach, and building more apartments, it's very normal. The yesod is you should know what you're in for, and don't get zerbrochen, and take it easy. Make a conscious decision before you get into it. A big sign on the fridge, and also on the other freezer in the other room. Big sign. It's going to be like that. Smile, laugh, smirk when that happens. It's costing double. You don't have the money. It's not going to change because of that. It's going to cost double. It's going to not work out. It's going to be this is it. But then if you know that, you do it. It's different, and it didn't work out in Gansen. And from the other side, but you go right and name yourself, and something nice can come out. Tshuva is not much different. Tshuva is number one of tshuva is. When a person is in Galus, Galus forces a person to think. We're up to that part. Thinking means trying to figure out what's the right way. Maybe I should do like this, maybe I should do that way. It's not something that you get it right on the first strike. There's 30, 40, 50 strikes with this child, with that child, with this situation, with that situation. That's what it is. But if a person knows that's what it is, then they know that in the end, David is going to help all the time. As I know, but it's ein adam oimel divrei adam kein nichshava. I'm going to try to daven. Maybe I didn't daven right. I'm going to get up again. I'm going to fall. I'm going to try to be mechazik myself. As long as a person chaps that the Galus is forcing me to try to repair yisoids that are wrong in my head, trains of thought. Galus, that means a tzara that a person is in. Instead of getting frustrated and upset and to blame, or yourself or others, the regular that a person understands that that's how it goes. Imagine a person goes, these trains or whatever, they go through a tunnel in the middle. It's supposed to be exciting, and first it's light and then it's dark, and then you go there and you go there. It's like a mavoch. How do they say that? A maze, but a walking maze. A person gets into the maze. It's in a Luna Park. Where do they have it? In amusement park.
Castles they have in Dawson. Gardens of castles.
Gardens of castles. Imagine a person starts going into this, and then he takes out his phone, calls his mother, and says, "This makes no sense. It makes zero sense. I've been looking for the way out for the last hour. It doesn't make sense. Can't they make like a straight road?" And they're like, "What do you mean? That's the whole chap. That's what it's supposed to be." When a person's going through an interesting situation, they're like, "Oh, punked by me, it didn't work out." Because every time there's a because. I was once by a shiva, and there was a young woman that was nifta. So there was the vision Rebbe from Yerushalayim. So sein gesund und stark. He came to that shiva and he said, "I've been in the medical field for the last 30 years, 40 years. There's never someone that was nifta stam. There's always a cause. There's always the doctor. He forgot to come, forgot to this, didn't take the advice. That's the day Yeshua runs this world. That's the nusach how it happens. There's always someone that you could point your finger if you want to. If you want. Sometimes, sure, blaming yourself is one of the biggest pains. Biggest pain when you blame yourself. But the Rebbeinu Shalom created it. As though a person could see, wow, only Hashem could untangle this. This is like massive. And this understanding, and this is boinanus, brings a person to closeness to the Rebbeinu Shalom. It brings a person to thank David. David gave us a yisoidus with what to work with. Not to blame, and not to be upset. And a chap, that it was supposed to be like it was in plan. It's mamash in plan, and it's going to help you be closer. It's going to help you be a better person. It's going to help you get to your tachlis. People sometimes get mad at a bunch living in an interesting way. It means they decided somewhere in life, when they had a very shallow understanding of Yiddishkeit, that they see these people that they're all from or chanyok or oivid, all these kind of words. I want to be like a plain guy. Stam, kshmak. They have their own version of Torah Gdula Makam Echad. They learn, don't worry. They try to daven, whatever, but they want to have a good time. They want to take it easy, but be like a geschmack erlichen man, but taking it easy. They have like a whole vision. And then they find out in life that it's not a possibility. It's out of stock, that kind of yid. That kind of yid is not really a possibility. It could look like that when you saw someone in the shul. It looked like he was like fresh, young, geschmack, sense of humor. You wanted to be like that guy. He's not shy. He's not kayam. There's dveikus. And a person's like, I ordered a different type. And the answer is, it's not shy. That there's only one mahalach of achnoah. And accepting Benjamin's plan. And then a person with simcha. A person that accepts Benjamin's plan is going to be light. Vayisa Yaakov Raglov. He's like, Galus was only there to help you. Only to help you. And once a person lost zach, then it's revealed. Then you can see or doesn't dafka necessarily mean the situation turned around. Or it means that it doesn't feel like, wow, that's the best thing for me. The best zach for me. Imagine someone that had an apartment in one in one city, and then it got messed up, and he couldn't live there. He was chashing to live there, and he had to live in a far place. Why? Because it's cheaper there, and he's all messed up, and there's no bread, and he went, and then he finds out 10 years later that he's running the shul, and he opened up the moisid, and they needed someone with talent like him, and he saved the place. He chaps that he was in Galus for a reason. That was the best thing. There was the Zach. The Zach, it was even in Ruchni is the Galus, spiritual Galus. A person feels like it's a mess. Like what Toyelis? What? There's nothing from this matziv, and the embassy is not like that. The embassy is that if a person is going to reach out to Hashem, then they could help others because they understand what you went through, and then on themselves, their hasoga, their understanding, the deep understanding of Yiddishkeit is so the hepech, the opposite of shallowness, because they've experienced. So for themselves, it's a whole different type of hatzlocha. So if you're in it, first of all, know it was written. This is something that's going to bring you to your shleimus. You say the Haggadah. You taught us the art of being humble. You taught us the art of being remembering Hashgacha Pratis. You gave us the ability to know when you live through this world how to do it the right way, so the situations that are happening should make me a better person instead of making me a bitter person. Thank you, Hashem. So it's like we started this year. The summary of the Haggadah Shal Pesach is maybe we should get the world, and everything is Hashgacha Pratis, and everything is Letoiv, and Eibush is going to take me in my life through Matzavim. If it didn't happen yet, it's going to happen. Don't worry, it doesn't have to be Yisurim, in the sense of that everything's going to fall apart. But it might feel like everything's falling apart, definitely. That you have to go through. That all of a sudden, your whole plan, everything is falling apart. The feeling of it, that has to be, sorry. No offense, because that's the feeling. Right then, what you're supposed to do is it's like a blood transfusion. Right then, a person should die. The right is supposed to get connected. So, but I have you. My plan didn't work out. I've been thrown out. I have no money. I'm with bushes from the city. That's a bigger tachlis than being a successful person. Zicha, because the Rebbeinu is with him. So that's the plan of. And then when a person realizes and acts up with this mahalach, he's always going to get Geula. Always. Geula in his heart, Geula in his nefesh. A person doesn't have to suffer. I once asked a Yid, he told me that his wife had Yana Machla, Rachmon Litzlan. I asked, how long did she suffer? In Yiddish, wie lange hat sie sich gemutscht? He said, not a day. You mean how long she had it? Baruch Hashem, she got out of it. But he said, suffering, even if it's physical, doesn't have to be emotional. It's a madrega. And it depends always the levels of it. But the Eibush is teaching us, that's we try to take it into us by the Haggadah Shal Pesach, that we thank that the Eibush gave us tools. We want to learn more about, and we thank Alachas Kam V'Kam, the Eibush gave us a tool that's called Shabbos, and a tool that's called Torah, that's called Tshuva, that's L'Chapar Kohen. And he gave us a lot of tools which help us go through this system of Olam Hazeh on a mahalach, that not only you push through, not only you survive it, as you live it, and you grow, and you get to your shleimus. So we take the kois and we thank for that. We say nishmas, and that for that vekas, for that ahav that the Eibush has to us. Good.
Yochanan Brizel, the order goes to Russia.
Right.
So when he was sitting shiva on his